So is the air clear in here?
Feels good to
Is it
me.
just outdoors it's been?
Okay, we're live. Steve, we're ready. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. I will do that. The meeting is called to order. Now, first thing is the agenda, and I have one preference, which is that we do new business before the old business, because new business will be quick and the old business is indeterminate in terms of how long it'll be. So if everybody's okay with that, we'll do new business first. Any other ideas for changes? Any objections to the agenda as now modified? There being none, the agenda is approved. The minutes have been distributed. Anybody have any things they want to say about the minutes? I hear nothing. Craig is not with us yet, or is that correct?
He's not.
Okay, so we have the other four members of the board are here today. All right, if there are no requests for approval or for amendment to the minutes will be approved unanimously. Golf. You're here, Paul. Thank you.
Am I on?
You're on.
Yes, you're
Well,
not only here, but you're on.
Yeah, I'm a little tickly in my throat. I guess there's still some smoke up there and stuff. So we've been running around. We've been put on some wetting agent and on the greens, and then been soaking them real heavy. They've been.
Can you speak more to the mic just in case? Or
Sure.
move it toward you?
Yeah, we've been putting a lot of water on the greens, trying to keep up with the drought conditions. We didn't get any rain, so to speak. I mean, there's enough to wet the bottom of the rain gauge. That was about it. So, but so far the course is in good shape. I mean, we've got a green that we're that we overseeded and it's coming back pretty good. But yeah, everything's in good shape. I think yeah, people seem surprised at how much grass is on the course already. So I think it's doing pretty good. Finishing our first month, our numbers are up from previous years a little bit, and so that's great because yeah, I was wondering how it's gonna be with with changing things. We've had some members that have moved and some that have had things where they haven't been able to be members, and so we weren't sure how all that was going to pan out. And then this bridge construction thing up there, but it doesn't seem to affect us up there so far, so that's good. And then we've got the North Point group, which is a youth group here in town. They have a lot of memberships. They've got, I'm thinking it's like 40 youth memberships up there. So
Wow.
it's pretty amazing. And so they're starting next Monday. Leagues is starting tomorrow. Men's league. We've got the senior leagues tomorrow. Then Thursday, there's two men's leagues. Paulina Backstrom is getting something kind of going for a women's, I don't know if you'd call it league or what you call it, but basically it's a women's golf group, and so that's good. We've been wanting to have that all along, and I think we're going to continue to chip away at that. That's been a little bit different format in that they're like leagues are a set amount of time, and it's a contest throughout the whole deal, and there's a finalist and a championship and all that. With the women's group, they just pick different games, and it's more than likely it's going to be like a prime time, more of a active in July, once things warm up and maybe the bugs are kind of like prime time. So anyway, we're glad for that, and that's about it. I can't think of any other things that we have going up there that's really different. Yeah, so we're just kind of getting our season going here. We have our beer is here in timely. Last year we got our beer license and things, but there were some mix-ups, so we kind of missed a little bit of time there for having beer on the premise, and so we've got that all going now, and one of the salesmen was through today, and he was impressed with how much we've already gone through, so I guess that's good. It's probably not a big deal, but, you know, anyway, I guess beer and golf is kind of the thing. We asked about different things as far as should we have the full spirits contract, which is, you know, it's probably another $800 or so for the licensing, but according to our reps, it's pretty much, golf is just pretty much beer, so I think we'll stay away from that for now. Yeah, that's it. For food, we're still like doing pizzas and hot dogs, basically, is what we have. The way that our kitchen is set up, we have our pizza ovens are, you know, essentially high-grade air fryers in a way, so, you know, we can make other things there, but just, you know, we just haven't really had much of a demand for it yet. The pizzas that we've had last year and stuff, it's, you know, we moved some and we got favorable comments on it, but I think we're gonna probably try to figure some different ways to move the pizza. You know, I'm immediately thinking about the North Coast group, you know, maybe have some sort of pizza buffet thing, you know, $5 and have some pizza, sort of thing. Kids love pizza. We like happy kids, so, yeah. Other than that, everything seems to be going pretty good. Yeah, we're just, like I say, we're just trying to get the course up to our standards, and you know, the growing season's kind of coming. We're behind in rain. We're irrigating more than usual, and our water supply is good right now. So we're using the water. That's about it. That's kind of the summary.
What date did you open up?
We opened up, what was it, the 15th.
You did right.
Yeah, we came in, basically we brought crew in after the 1st of May, and you know, had a really stretch of nice weather right then and there. And it was kind of too bad we couldn't open it up for that weekend, but anyway, it kind of went straight to really poor weather, really windy, really cold, and now we're in kind of a string of nice weather, so it's been good, yeah. Except for the smoke.
Do you have hot dogs?
Hot dogs, yeah.
Have hot dogs?
Yeah, we've got really good hot dogs.
Great.
Yeah.
Is there more you wish to tell us?
No,
Are there questions or comments?
You got
From
relish for
members.
the hot dogs?
we do.
Great.
I have a couple things. I don't remember that there's any sign that says that we have food up there. I think we'll sell more pizza and more hot dogs if people who are
Well-
strangers come in and know that that's true.
We had some promotional things some things that we put up on the walls and things that showed the different pizzas, and I think we wrote our own pricing on there. We had that last year. We can get that again. I think you know, we could. It'd be nice. We had talked about having something up on the 9th tee, telling people, hey, if you want something ready, you know, call it in. We'll have it ready when you come in. That sort of thing. But you know, we aren't really that high tech. But you know, with the advent of cell phones, we could put
Craig, you
something
wanna
up there.
roll a chair up there until Paul's done? That's fine too.
This'll work. Thanks. Sorry, guys. Was in the middle of
Okay,
on something.
and the record will reflect
gas
that
all over my hands.
Councilmember Schulte has joined us. Where we just finished hearing Paul's report. Do we have both beer and wine, or just beer?
Well, we can have wine, but we chose not to really stock it. We tried it last year, and the people that tried it really enjoyed it, but nobody else really partook, so it's, the good thing about wine, I guess, is it gets better with age, but, you know, we might have something really valuable in the years to come.
I think we could probably make some money if, on those 3-liter cartons of wine, they're,
Like a wine
most
cooler
of them
sort
pretty
of,
well done.
like a wine cooler sort of thing?
Well, it's not a cooler, it's a cardboard box with a plastic insert full of 3 liters of wine. And it's a lot less expensive to buy those boxes than it is bottles. And we can probably charge a modest increase and make some money on it. I know that if I have that choice, I'll probably choose that over a beer most of the time, but.
You would?
Yeah, only, that's only me, I can't speak for the rest of the group.
Okay.
Computer, I'm looking for a way to keep track of our handicaps. Can we get that done in the next month or two?
Yeah, we've got a computer right there on our desk, so we can tap into that.
Okay, that'd be terrific. And I suppose we'll need to have some kind of instruction, piece of paper for people who are members to know how to use it.
Yeah, and then there's a fee associated with, you know, having a handicap with, you're talking with the MGA sort
Right.
of thing, yeah. Yeah, there's a fee per
But that's
individual.
paid to the Minnesota Golf Association.
Yeah, you're kind of on your own there.
Okay, let's see if there's anything else that worthy of. I was up there today, and while I was there was nobody in the office right then, everybody was out working. But there was this couple there that had just played yesterday at Superior National, and they come up here 3 times a year, play golf, and saw an advertisement for our course while they were eating at Bluefin.
Mm-hmm.
So they came up to check it out.
Yeah.
And that reminds me that we need to make sure that we've got some publicity about us at all the places where people gather, and especially the restaurants, I would think, and the motels would be the.
Do you know what the mode of advertising was there?
I do not know. I do not know. It was something that they saw at Bluefin Bay is all I really know.
Okay,
But they looked like they could afford to play as often as they wanted.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we get
Any other
visitors.
comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Paul.
You bet, thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
You bet.
Next item on the agenda is the city council report. If you're prepared to do something with that, Craig?
Sound? Yeah, we had a city council meeting on 28th of May. And the only, basically, one item got scratched from the agenda, but the 2 items that were on the agenda was the Duval project, which is a refresher that we were updated on, which would be the project for apartments proposed on the land that is up in front of the City Works building, formerly known as the Tom DeVota land. And so we're updated on that, 16-unit project, and just the gentleman is still in kind of the planning stages. It was just kind of an update to where it's at, and what they're doing and what they're working on.
Can you remind me where that physically is located? I'm new to here.
You know where the Public Works building is for the city of Grand
Up on
Marais?
the top of the hill?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the land in front of that.
And
That's on the
is
highway.
Is it east or west of that?
It's on the lakeside.
Lakeside?
It's on the lakeside, right, it would be the same shared driveway that goes into the Public Works building.
Okay,
Yeah, then the land runs, from the driveway, the land runs to the east.
is this a totally private project or is it part of?
No, it's not private, it's workforce housing grant that has been obtained to offset costs. Minnesota Housing is involved on it, it'd be 16 units. But they're still kind of in the planning stages of what exactly they want to offer as far as, you know, what the internal guts of the building is gonna be as far as bedrooms and how many 1 bedrooms, how many two, maybe some 3-bedroom. It's just basically a refresher to us at where that project's at, cause when we basically went, well, we donated the land to the project, and so after that point, we really haven't heard much, and now we're getting more information on it. The other, item on the agenda that we discussed was the Borkberg project, that came to us. It was basically the planning commission's findings presented to city council. And where that's at right now is the legal, parties are involved in looking over the, easements and, whatever other, parts of that whole project that needs to be discussed and looked into legally. And then that'll be coming back to City Hall for more questions or what answers have been answered on the questions we had last time.
And where is that one located again?
That would be located, up on the end of 6th and 7th Avenue, in Grand Marais. Up, in an area that I used to call Birch Mountain, if you know where that is. It's, in the R1 zone. Kitty corner from the courthouse, about 2.5 blocks, I guess, if you wanna get yourself in the right
Is it
area.
around, is it between Third and Fourth Streets?
Off of 3rd. Yeah.
Okay,
Off of 3rd between 6th and 7th Avenue. You have
Okay.
8th Avenue, 7th, that's a dead end, and 6th is a dead end.
Right.
It's up in that area right
was that the one that was, where there was a plan that was voted down and now they're coming back?
Yeah, it's the
with
same
something?
project. This is Borkberg 2.0. We already talked about 1.0, now it's coming back. Basically the same, type of project with a few changes, but there's still some legal issues that we have to go through, so we're waiting for those, to be drafted so that we can, refresh ourselves on the findings that is being taken care of on that. And that is all that was on the agenda, were those 2 items. Other than, consent agenda. The Vesta final plat referral we looked at, that was passed. That's the, project that, Skildum, Mr. Skildum is doing, and that is, what's that, 3rd, 4th, 2nd, at the end of 2nd Street? No, well,
It's kind of up above.
it's up above the old Harbor Light, that area is all that, there's a road going in, I can't remember how many homes are proposed. There's
I think it was 16?
16 different homes in that plat of land. Yeah, that's about everything. Talked about the Park Bathhouse concept plan proposal and Lions Club Fisherman's Picnic, so that's everything that I've got.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Craig, your comment at the interview that workforce housing is probably not 2,000 a month, but closer to 1,000 a month was really interesting. Where the developer came in about 2 and you
We have a lot of
suggest-
questions about that.
Well,
He explained it.
yeah,
I wanted him to explain, this 80 to 120% AMI, and then I wanted to explain, well, when you're getting, $1.3 million, grant from workforce housing, what kind of rents are you looking at? I'm just concerned about what's out there, what's gonna be out there for people
yeah.
that, market rate is different from what
Yeah,
a lot of people working, can afford.
so we figured.
It just
you'd have-
is, and I don't have answers for it.
We figured you'd have to make 60 grand to afford one of his apartments. And that's not casual workforce.
No, I understand, that's why I wanted to know what workforce housing, the $1.3 million grant, what do they expect for that?
That was a great question, yeah.
See what happens, hopefully it's a good project, and hopefully we had some curveballs thrown at us, but we need to discuss it more, and it's in the planning phases right now, so. Everything has more questions on everything that happens, so hopefully we get answers on everything, so everybody knows what's going on.
That's the kind of place that would prohibit that being a second home for somebody.
Their rental, yeah, their rental, they're supposed to be rentals for,
People who are here.
right, yeah. I would hope that's what it is. But, you know, after things are built, 10 years down the road, what happens to them, you know? They've had some issues in Duluth on certain things, and, you know, I'm just trying to not get into that program, but hopefully it's a good project. That's about all I have.
Other comments or questions? Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Parks report, we have a written version in front of us. David?
Thanks, Steve. So, yes, the good news here, May was a great month for revenue versus last May. I think the weather was the biggest factor. We looked at last May's wet, cool trend. This was the opposite. I mean, we had a little bit of cool weather in the middle of the month, but hot start, hot ending made for increased revenue, 18% over last year. So, really good start to the season. The Memorial Day weekend was successful. We had the bike race in town. We had a nearly full park, not too many cancellations. Everything was open as planned. All 4 bathhouses were open. I'm always sort of nervous that weekend because we go from really empty to really full. We always anticipate something going wrong. Power, especially at the pedestals, you know, there's like GFI breakers that sit out in the elements all winter. And we did have a couple of those snapping, but we're able to manage that. So this was a good feeling. It was a good month that we brought everything back to life, and the guests were happy. So park office right now is open 8 to 6 most nights. Friday nights we're going to be open till 8 over the next few Fridays, and then starting on about the 19th or so, we'll be open 8 to 8 in our busy season. And then I'll touch on the last thing, and then we'll get to the middle. The events for June, right? We've got the Harbor Park Rally for the Cook County Pride Group that was approved for the 14th, and then the North House Folk School will be setting up their little wooden boat display down along the sidewalk at the marina on Saturday the 21st. And so the big part of this report has to do with our bathhouse rec hall project with LHB. They presented a proposal and a contract that was approved by City Council, roughly $30,000. We're gonna spend with LHB over the next couple months on the planning and concept development. Part of that contract is their willingness to apply for the grant with the Greater Regional Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission. They do have staff experienced with that. We've got a landscape architect that has done 3 of these, all successful. So we're really happy to have that in their toolkit. And then Mike Fisher and Doug Zahn, they principally designed this facility as well as the Public Works facility. And so they were on site last Thursday as a part of the grand opening, and I was able to meet with them in the morning and take a really comprehensive walk through the park with both of these gentlemen. Had a real eye-opening experience, I think, going to each bathhouse and looking in the utility rooms and looking in the showers. And Doug especially was like very open-minded about everything and wanted to know, like, why are we doing this? Why are we replacing the rec hall? It seems like a fine building. I mean, it was great to have the outsider's perspective on our plans, people that weren't involved with the master planning, but now they're builders and planners and architects, and so they're seeing these facilities firsthand and asking these critical questions of, are we sure this is the right path? And so, as you see, I was like, well, really, yeah, why are we replacing the rec hall? It's a very lightly used seasonal building. It, you know, doesn't get a lot of traffic. It serves, we just had a great big weekend with graduation parties in there, and everybody's a fan of that, and the, you know, baby showers and class reunions during picnic, and, you know, it probably only gets used 20 times a year. And all the groups that use it love it. And so we, in the rec hall, thought like, maybe we just need a remodel.
Yeah, could be.
And the same for bathhouse 3, right? We've got a cinder block bathhouse that's got good bones and no complaints from the campers about it as far as capacity. Systems in there are okay. The accessibility isn't modern. But again, there was this like real pondering questions of which bathhouses are most needy. And so we know bathhouse 2, which is this little old wooden shed under the park office, is really the oldest.
Yeah.
And arguably not in the best location, right? We discovered this in the master plan that we have that position to move south a couple 100 feet. That would then like capture some of the campsites that sit down south across from the picnic pavilion and stuff. We've got a little gap in coverage. When we look at the Department of Health's requirements for bathhouses, they should be within 400 feet of your campsites. And there's a master plan page that has those 400-foot radiuses projected from our bathhouses. And there's a gap. We've got about 20, 30 sites down on that south corner across from the pavilion that aren't covered. And moving bathhouse 2 a little further south, a couple 100 feet south, creates coverage for all of our campsites. And bathhouse 3, the rec hall, bathhouse 2, those are our 3 facilities that we thought, let's keep thinking about this, let's keep talking about this. Heck, we even threw the park office into the equation of, is this in the right spot? You know, what are the advantages to having it on this side of the road versus that side of the road? And so, not to go back and redo the master plan, but really we're in a phase of like analysis and concept development that wasn't at the same level that we were looking at in the master plan, right? We did a really high level map for the master plan, but now we've got experts on contract that are drilling down on the details and the needs and the wants and the logistics. And if we're gonna make a big application, you know, $1 million grant application, we really, at the conclusion of our tour, we kind of thought, let's go bang for the buck with this, right? We don't have to just build one building. Maybe we build a new bathhouse 2 and we remodel 3 and the rec hall, right? And it's all, the project is meeting the needs of the master plan or the goals of the master plan, which were improve our facilities, improve our infrastructure. And, you know, if bathhouse 3 and the rec hall are good buildings and just need remodels, that's way less expensive than building new. If we were to move that idea in the master plan where bathhouse 3 comes up to the rec hall location, you know, close to the parking lot, we almost create another gap of campsite coverage. It's, you know, there's some real like permitting issues actually with the Department of Health that says, yeah, maybe we can't do this until we move bathhouse 2 down south. And so we're really looking at it as a comprehensive application to address multiple facilities that are being, you know, the thoughts are being developed now. As you see, this team is gonna be back in town on July 1st. That's the first Tuesday. We have a park board meeting that evening down here, but we're hoping to have, well, we're planning an open house at the rec hall to talk to the staff. Again, we had staff on site last Thursday when we were touring, and they were like, we need a new bathhouse too. Like, it's pretty clear from our custodians where the preference is, or which is the hardest facility to clean, and it's bathhouse 2. And so we're gonna have that kind of input with the team, with the LHB team on the Tuesday the 1st. We'll invite the campers in. We thought, hey, this is the busiest weekend of the, or week of the summer. Like, what a great time to take input and listen to the community and the users and get our plans firmed up. And so, yeah, this is a pretty exciting project now that I don't wanna just assume anything, and we're looking at a master plan that's like the framework for our decisions, but it's not carved in stone. And so expect much more dialogue about this on July 1st. But if there's any questions or comments now, I'd take them.
There was also some talk about doing a parking lot on that side of the road. Is that still up for discussion?
Yes, so the idea that the old pool site would be a trailhead parking lot for the Gitchigami is definitely up for discussion. I've met with the DNR and they wouldn't include that with the application to this GMRPTC group, because that money is special for regionally significant parks, not for DNR projects. The DNR gets their own legacy funding. And so we definitely found out that we don't want to include the trailhead parking lot with the application for new bathhouses. That would be a separate project, and it would be potentially separate funding available through the DNR for, in some of their regional trail connectivity grants, and they mentioned a LMCR grant, which is, yeah, they've got separate money for this, for the trailhead parking lot,
But not bonding,
not bonding,
because bonding's going nowhere.
right.
If they talked about maybe moving the office across the road, would that be part of that parking lot deal?
Well, we haven't talked about moving the office across the road. We've just sort of questioned the viability of the office and like, is it in the right spot? Should it stay? Could it, you know, we looked 16 years ago, we had the master plan 2009, and it showed a new office bathhouse 2 facility, right? It was like, we kind of always struggle with the office as like, is it in the right spot? It's, you know, is it on the right side of the road? If we were to build a bigger facility on that, on the west side of that parking lot, that like is a bathhouse and a rec hall looking big building, guests are gonna think, where's the office, right? They're gonna, you know, we're directing folks down the hill to the right into that parking lot as like our staging area, our check-in lane. And well, you gotta walk across the street, back across the street to get to the to get to the office. So yeah, it's interesting area there to study, and traffic and everything's a part of the discussion.
But it's not required that we deal with that in connection with the bathhouse 3 and the rec hall, right?
The trailhead parking lot, right, that can still happen, but in a separate track.
But it's not part of the same discussion.
Right.
Okay. Other comments or questions?
Well, bathhouse 3, because you've talked about it needing work inside, and so if you're remodeling it, you're talking about like just leaving the outside walls and redoing the inside. I'm not sure if the inside, are those concrete walls as well? Or,
Yeah,
but,
yeah, they're cinder block and it's seasonal and it's,
so would those come out, you think, or you haven't thought that
no,
far
the
ahead?
footprint is sound, like it's
Yeah.
the fixtures, like FF&E, we call it, you know, the furniture, fixtures and equipment, and it's counters and toilets and shower walls, and it would take like modest amount of money, but it would be way cheaper than building.
And are those the floors in the showers, are those concrete too, or would you think those would be tiled now, or leave them, or what's, when you say 2 is hard to clean, is that because those are concrete, or is it, why is that, is 2
No,
harder to clean?
2 is, it's got a utility room that's like only on the south side, on the min side, and so you're kind of like pushing the mop pail around through the grass to get to the women's side. It's in the layout of the utility room. There's no cover. You're outside working in the rain to go between the rooms. It's a
Gotcha.
really bad layout for
Yeah,
access to the, there's like 4 different rooms because the showers are separate from the toilets. So it has a number of layout issues, and then it also has old galvanized piping that is like scaled up and not a lot of water pressure and a lot of grit in the shower heads and lots of like plumbing issues.
Yeah.
Is that the
Into-
oldest one?
by far. But we've done work, we've put in epoxy painted floors, you know, the like heavy duty coating and on the shower walls as well. And so it presents fine, but it's always the one that needs more attention than the other 3. Bathhouse 3 is like great bones, as we say, but it needs like new epoxy painted shower walls. It's just the easy thing. It's got the old fiberglass reinforced panels that are white and
Right.
don't like to stay white in the summer. It does have tile in the showers, but the grout's pretty much gone. has a concrete painted floors at the sinks and it's flaked off, and we, every other year, try to epoxy paint that, but it never sticks. So it's just one of those wet, damp environments that needs more epoxy and tile.
When you talk about moving bathhouse two to, you know, be in regulation, does that mean like substituting a campsite or two?
Yes,
And
yes,
flipping-
exactly. Yes, it would move,
Uh-huh.
like I say, a couple hundred feet to the south,
Uh-huh,
and which is about in this pocket of woods where site number 38 is now. And it's kind of a neat site because it sits in this little tree
yeah,
zone.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But where you see where two sits now, you would actually create like easily two more very prime
Lake
lakefront
view.
sites.
yeah.
So it's, I think it's a net gain for sites. And again, there's, you know, Department of Health has X number of toilets for X number of sites type of formulas too. And we wouldn't need the same size as two is now, right? Because we've like got more than we need with 4 shower stalls and 3,
Oh,
you know, stalls for toilets. Like we could really downsize that facility to just offer a couple of toilets and a couple of showers.
Oh.
So when you talk about moving it, you're not necessarily talking about lifting up the existing building and
No.
moving, you're talking about building
Building
a
a
new
new one.
facility in a proper place. Okay.
And the rec hall doesn't have any bathroom facilities?
does.
It does?
It does have a singular, like, family room, bathroom.
well, I like the idea of hanging on to what's still working.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm really pleased to have these guys on our team,
yeah, that's,
guys and gals. So lots more to come on this. Like I say, we'll get this July 1st open house announced and hopefully some good feedback from the community and staff. And then they'll come to our meeting that night or that late afternoon and debrief, and we can have a really good discussion at that point.
cool.
So
You were
you're,
thinking of our having the meeting at the rec hall that day,
No, just an open house for the community, like from,
before the meeting?
yes,
Okay.
yep. We'll still meet down here. They'll come to here. That's all I have.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, having amended the agenda, we're going to new business, a special event application for music in the park, which was distributed by email ahead of time and by mail, I guess. Does anybody have any problems with it, or questions, or concerns? Is there any significant change from prior years?
Nope.
Okay. If I don't hear anybody wanting to talk about it, I guess I would approve, or would look for a motion.
so moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye,
Opposed, same sign. There being no opposition, the application is approved. The next question is the Harbor Park power upgrades. When I looked at those documents on that, 35,000 was a big number all of a sudden, and I said, okay, let's think about that. I have a couple of questions leading into that, and that is, who pays, do the vendors pay for power when they come through?
Yes.
So can we reasonably, over a period of time, collect back the costs of that 35,000?
Reasonable, that's the question.
Yes, but then it would, actually, we'd have to start charging the Lions then for use of the power, which we currently don't do. So the vendors pay the Lions, and the Lions don't pay us. Because the Lions,
Maybe we could go to a cost-sharing system
that's,
where they would pay some to us and some to the Lions.
yeah, for sure, that's been part of our discussions with the Lions, is the fee right now is maybe not enough, because it's $40.
the vendor fee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
So maybe that's gonna be 140 soon, and then we'll take the 40 and they can keep the 100 or some, we've been talking about the fee.
And so what does that fee, $40 include? What does that all include, a $40 vendor fee when you say that?
The power and the space, the booth.
Trash?
Yeah,
Porta potties?
no,
No. Okay.
Lions pay for that on the side.
But they don't, the Lions don't get a percentage of what they sell or things like that. It's just $40. They can, right. That's a great deal.
For a vendor.
For a vendor.
Yeah, right.
Their garbage bill would be over $40 for a weekend.
No doubt the amount of
If
garbage
they
that
had to
comes out of
provide their
there,
own
so.
garbage can and get it dumped, you know.
I
Yeah,
assume that we'll have a stronger bargaining power with both the Lions and the vendors if we have some more detailed agreement before we actually spend the $35,000 and have the contractors come up. Is it gonna take, are they wanting to do it for this year, or?
Yeah, they kinda want it. They had a lot of problems last summer, last August.
When we talked about this before, you mentioned the possibility of the PUC, our electric city people being able to do some of this work, or is that a possibility or not? Is this,
Yeah, I think the conversation I had with Mike and the PUC kind of went along the lines of, well, that's not, okay. What's proposed for this company to do is the kind of stuff like, you know, you're working on electrical boxes and, what are we talking about here? 600 amp services, RV services and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that our lineman guys don't do,
oh,
you know? As far as hooking up to bringing power to the site from whatever area they're bringing it from down there, I don't know. Our guys will do that. But the trenching typically would be done by a company that we choose to do the work. And the actual installing of the boxes and the RV, or the plugs that the trailers need, you know, the right style plugs that they use, RV plugs pretty much, aren't they? Yeah, 30 amp or whatever, yeah. So that's kind of what I found out.
Yeah, I had a similar discussion with the administrator on this as to like any ideas for cost savings, getting our crews involved, and there's really not. Particularly the timing and the season and everything about this is not like Craig explains, the transformer and the hookup between the transformer and the disconnect is something our PUC staff would be in charge or responsible for, but then once it's in the disconnect, it's sort of they don't have the licensing to do that type of hookups to the pedestals, and there's really no opportunity to get
and
those
are
folks
there,
involved.
and do we ever look for another bid, or?
Could.
Am I correct that if we put more power in there, they'll be able to have more vendors?
That's what I'm gathering from Kenny's letter, like the idea that this is future-proof is something that's been talked about, that this would like allow growth.
But if you could use 800, why would you do 600? I mean, it's one dig and a little thicker copper.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably the pricing.
if you're gonna do it, just do it, anticipating where you're gonna be in 5 years, you know.
The trenching part of it, I think, is the most expensive thing, is doing all that stuff, so if you're gonna
I'd rather
put a line
apply-
in the ground, make sure we put enough, I guess, the right amount.
I mean, every place I've lived, it's been up to 200, up to 200, up to 200. I've never taken a place down.
Are you looking for a vote today for us to recommend it? Because I would be happier to vote on that if we had a more detailed agreement, maybe one in writing with the Lions, and more of a description of what we're planning to do, and how much we're gonna recover and how much we won't if we don't recover it all, or over what time frame and that sort of thing.
But this is June.
When
But it's
is
too
the
late for this year.
event is
Yeah.
August?
First weekend in August.
Yeah, they've already have 7
It
trucks
would-
signed up. It's too late to go back and tell them that.
Pardon?
Well, they can't go back now and tell the food trucks that the price is going up. Right now, I mean, I think you could do it for 2026, but 2025 is pretty probably well set. It seems like it, but my question is like, you know, I see trucks along the road, along Main Street there, so are you talking about running power out to somewhere those, or where would those plugs be in for them?
They'd be in the gardens, like
So they'd be across the,
across the sidewalk,
across the sidewalk,
which is
okay.
how they currently access it. There's,
Okay.
there's currently plugs and power in the
In the
in the gardens and in the, on the other side of those big concrete benches.
Yeah,
So yeah, they're in similar locations, they're just bigger plugs,
and that goes around the whole corner down and then down by,
trading
Lake
posts.
Trading Post in the front there, okay. So it'd just be that one side though, is where they do it all. That's what you're talking about?
No, they do both on Wisconsin and on First.
Right, but both sides of the street or just
Oh,
one?
no,
No.
sorry,
Just one
just
side
the
of the
Harbor
street.
Park side.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the question of like a second of price is a good one, okay, I too am like, 35. Who else would do this is the first thing that comes to mind, like who else could do this in the next like month? Something we can explore.
And get prices for 6 and 8. I mean, if you're doing it, do it.
Cause he does state that the price, the 800 would be the best.
Yeah,
He states that in his thing.
Yeah,
Cause he'd hate to have to redo it to get 800 in a couple years.
We clearly have the money in the capital fund to accomplish the project without agreements. But we lose our bargaining power dramatically if we just do it and don't have at least some agreement in principle with the Lions in particular. More about a year from now rather than this year, although we might even, as a way of offsetting some of the cost, if they get more vendors in, we could capture the new vendors as a way of collecting some money toward the cost of the project if we wanted to.
And this is really the only weekend that they're looking at where we need all this power.
well, and then there's that issue of safety in the bouncy rooms.
Right.
And that statement is in the record somewhere. You can't go back and undo that.
Yeah, I don't disagree it needs to be done, and I'm not concerned about the Lions paying us more or carving out their profits, cause that's just such a community benefit. It seems to me anything they make comes back into the community, so, but I do think that vendor fee is ridiculously low for the Lions. I mean, if I were a Lion, I'd be like, we need to charge more.
Definitely.
But I'm uncomfortable just having one
One other question I have.
quote, so,
And that is, this isn't just for the Lions. Once the power is installed, it's available for other events.
technically true.
How many other events do we have now that might use more power? Any? Zero. If we had more power, do you think some of the event planners would start having enlarged notions?
Can't answer that.
yeah, the other thing is if it's not safe, then they couldn't have a bouncy house, you know.
I think
There could be a limit on
Yeah,
how many vendors can be there,
I think that's the big user of the power, right?
is the bouncy house.
Well, all those things.
Yeah.
Oh, on that's,
Doucette's did send a letter.
Yeah, so is three, I was just looking at this, labor and materials to trench in 3 more pedestals. Are those when those are strategically laid out, those three, do they meet the needs? Do you think they need more than three? I mean, are we looking,
So each pedestal would have two 50-amp plugs in it.
okay,
So we're effectively adding 6 more 50-amp plugs.
okay.
There's already
How many are currently there then? There's,
4
okay.
50-amp plugs.
So all of this stuff, like last summer, is running off of 4 50-amp plugs?
No, cause there's lots of little 20-amp stuff, like the bouncy houses are little 20-amp plugs.
Okay,
But when the motor kicks on, it draws like
Right.
the full 20.
Yeah.
And so it's the distribution across the 200-amp panel
right,
that's the problem.
it's not enough, yeah.
There's plenty of plugs down there right now, they're just not enough power
Okay,
if all of those plugs are in use.
okay.
So Dave, when this Nordic Electric, when they did this, did you walk through this with them?
No, this was with the Lions.
Okay.
I think we need from you a recommendation of some kind, so we have something to vote on.
Thanks, Steve.
Did you see their map or the layout? Is this something that is you feel
Yeah.
it's,
Didn't you send that to us? I
Yeah.
feel like I've seen it.
Yeah.
It was in our email.
yeah, I
And
saw
you
this
feel
one.
that's good?
I've seen
Got
this
the
one.
red and blue dots. on it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they've done their due diligence to justify this. I have a hard time with that it gets used 2 days a year.
Yeah,
Right.
cause the other events that happen down there, like, let's say,
Art fair.
art fair, and there might be a food truck there, whatever. You know, they have enough to handle that. So when you start doing, would they have, 16 vendors last year they had 11 food trucks, okay. Yeah, well, we don't have 11 food trucks for the art fair, I don't think.
No.
So we don't have a problem with 200 amp then.
You know, so for me, it's like that church and Easter Sunday analogy of,
Right,
right?
or Christmas Eve, where do we sit everybody?
Yeah,
We need a bigger church.
yeah.
And I wonder what do they actually make from the weekend?
The
The
Lions.
Lions.
You know, Pete and I chatted just before this meeting, and he apologizes for not being available for tonight, but he did say it's their 96th annual picnic, and in the macro, they've given back over $500,000 to the community. But I don't know what,
Over how many years?
96 years.
96 years.
Oh, so
Yeah, I don't know what that
100 and,
equates to every
Their
year.
money is in selling tickets and fish burgers, right? No one's making any money off these food trucks.
Or the bouncy
The
house.
food truck people are making money off the food
And
trucks.
do
They're
s-
making money off being at the event.
Right, and do set party
And
rental.
for me, sitting here, I'm looking at this $40 fee, and it's like, wow. I
You
mean,
wanna
that's,
get a
that's
food
a
truck.
grand deal for anybody bringing a food truck to a jam-packed city for a weekend,
doubt.
right? And I'm not saying we need to charge, I don't think we need to charge the Lions Club
Right,
so much for this, that I think that in the city, they get, let me understand this, they get the permit for the weekend, correct, from the city? And then they do this. The city has nothing to do with this, right? You know, we're not coming in and then charging for the food trucks. The Lions Club is handling that. So I'm just trying to figure out what would be the best way to kinda discuss this. Without, I mean, I have nothing against the Lions Club, they do great things in our community. And the food trucks are great to have there, cause we need them because of the number of people that show up in our town. But, be nice to offset the cost somehow, because the electricity's flowing, and I don't think any of that's metered.
It is.
It is metered, so we have, well, so we could probably figure out what kind of electricity pulls out of that in a given weekend from past, events. That'd be interesting. Cover our costs anyway, would be nice, you know, through fees. Who gets the fees though? The Lions Club gets the fees, and that's, you know, that's another discussion, but
So for this, Dave, what are other possible solutions besides this? Are there any other possible solutions? I know he talks about them running generators and things that doesn't work. Are there any other, I mean, for a 1-2 day event, is there any other possible solutions that exist?
You're limited to the amperage you can flow, that's the possible solution.
I mean, and generators aren't really gonna cut it, and there's,
Or not
No way.
having everything downtown.
Right.
They
What's
could
that?
put the bouncy house up at the community center, you know, they could, but
so really, this is the only solution to the problem is doing something like this for 2 days.
Well, of course, the other piece of it is one could look for other events that might bring in revenue and people as well.
That's the best weekend, though.
Well,
That's the best weekend to do it weather-wise, it seems like.
sure.
it's interesting to think about charging the Lions Club for usage, for the electricity.
Well, we could, and then
Over a number of
make
years.
make it like a pass-through deal, a pass-through, they charge them, they charge the vendor.
Right, then they really increase the
It's a
fees for their
pass-through,
vendors.
it's not costing them any money, we're not taking any money from the Lions Club. You know, I don't wanna do that,
Right,
I don't think anybody here wants to do that,
right.
but it could be a pass-through fee that, hey,
I mean, if it's
I don't know, I'm
2,000,
just throwing things out there, it's not.
Yeah, and they, both Pete and Kenny, when we've talked about this, have come to the same realization that their vendor fee is too low, and that maybe there's a sharing, a give back to the city. If we do this, they would be amicable to fee over time, you know, every year pay us $1,000 or something.
I'd say 2. And then in 17 years, they've paid off this $35,000.
If we
Without
thought about it
interest.
like amortizing a mortgage over 30 years,
Right,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, the cost of interest is, and monthly payment for a mortgage is about reasonably $8 a thousand. That, it varies a little bit, but if that's true, that would be $280 a month for 30 years. That would be a very modest charge to the Lions, if those numbers are right. And I don't expect people to decide based upon my numbers, but,
well, I see we're in a spot, I see there's a couple other electricians in town I can, you know, reach out to, see if they're interested, see if they're available, just for that price comparison. I would agree that's a good idea to do. And, you know, maybe tonight we can make some kind of a approval pending, you know, shopping the price around.
Yeah, price and availability is huge. If they want it this year, it's already June.
June
That's a
3rd.
pretty quick turnaround for someone that, to get on somebody's list for starting what, in 2 weeks?
yeah, I'd also like to add something about, I mean, if you can meter the electric use for that weekend, if there's a way to, you know, negotiate payment with the Lions Club.
that doesn't require a meter, does it? If we just decide how much we wanna collect to cover the cost of the increased power, we don't have to worry about individual, you know, billings.
Well, SIMPA doesn't give you a watt that isn't charged for.
I'm sorry?
Since SIMPA does not give you a watt that is not charged for, there's no free electricity.
I understand that.
Yeah, I
We're
mean-
already providing,
But somebody's
A bunch
paying
of
for
it-
it, somebody's paying for it.
If it was metered, at least we'd know how much they're using.
Yeah,
per-
I'd
per
just be
thing.
curious.
Be curious, and they would wanna know that. They should wanna know that. And then they could change their fees.
Well, except, like, so who's paying, the city's already eating that, right?
Yeah.
So even if we charge for that, we're still not getting anything for this.
Right.
Yeah, make it personal. The city's powering it up and you're paying the city. And it's yours. Do you think anybody else could put a bid together in 2 weeks and dig a hole in 6?
I don't know. But I can find out.
Yeah, I've had good experience with Nordic. They're crisp and quick task and done, but I'll bet they've got other stuff to do too.
Craig, what do you think of the price for this? 35? Do you have any experience?
There's a lot of trenching, I think. That's probably the biggest cost. Well, those RV pedestals aren't probably very cheap. You should know that. 600 amp entrance, that's probably,
That's a big piece.
that's a few dollars.
So that 525 feet of trenching, that's them doing it or them subcontracting
No.
it out?
Well, I would assume they're doing all of the work.
He digs all that, yeah.
Yeah, whoever does the work, they gotta pay them or they're doing, I think they're doing all the work.
Okay.
Trenching and providing the materials, parts.
Nordic did our little house at our place and I got no complaints about that.
Yeah, no,
Corky, come.
How much, disturbance to the current area? A lot,
Quite a
some, and then it's gotta be all fixed after the trenching, that includes all that. Some of it,
Yeah,
some landscaping work we gotta do after it's over with, a little bit maybe.
So where, you talk trenching, where are you trenching?
through the gardens
Through the gardens,
Yeah,
not the
and the
street?
granite sand. And
And the what?
that is the, sort of the granite sand, you know, like the,
Oh, right,
the
right, yeah.
pathways,
Right.
which is,
there'll be some, recovery work after it's done then.
Yeah.
That somebody has to do.
That's not included in here.
well, I'm guessing they'll leave it in like a okay shape, but not to our standards, where we'd have to go back and do some fine raking and
Add some more granite.
I already, you know, the granite sand is hard to come by. It comes from Cold Springs, St. Cloud area. It's very
Yeah,
expensive.
that's where the mine is.
Yeah, and so we've already talked about this. I was on a call with Nordic and the Lions when this was presented to me, and I said, well, this trenching is gonna be disruptive, yes. It's going through the granite sand, yes. We can't really buy another truck of granite sand in time. That's gonna be another $5,000 if we had to. So there was a promise to like carefully remove it, set it aside, trench into the cobblestone, and then put it all back in pretty good shape, was something Nordic talked about with this price.
Okay.
Well, that's a lot right there.
I'm looking for a proposal that we could vote on if people want to do that.
Well, 2 areas of concern. One is if you're gonna do it big enough. And then if there's a concern, get a second opinion. And then the liability is still laying in one of these sheets unaddressed. So we need to address the liability issue first. Nobody gets stuck in the bouncy house. And then figure out if you wanna do it this year or next year. And if so, how big?
I'm certain if we were to take this to the 800 amp spec, it's only gonna get more expensive.
Yeah,
How much more, I don't know, but
probably not a lot more than
yeah.
600. It's the digging the hole
It's the
and
digging the hole.
hooking up
yeah.
the gadgets that costs the money. The size of copper matters, but I'll bet it's not the determining thing. And then just restrict your vendors. If you only have enough for a
Yeah,
certain number, just
that's how I
say,
feel.
we're done.
For 2 days. And if the weather's not, yeah, I don't know.
So what has happened here is that with the addition of this type of, the Doucettes stuff, and then the addition of more food trucks, because I'm just thinking past Fisherman's Picnics. Cause we've had 200 amps there for how many years now?
20?
20. But we've had some problems with the electric part. And then the other thing too, I think, is a lot of new food trucks now, like they say, a lot of it's electric. They're putting electric fryers instead of propane fryers, so every house has more of a draw. And that would be the future, I would think, in building these things, so. So is the 600 amp new service adequate to handle what we're normally
That's
doing
how
at
it's
this
presented.
time?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it's presented.
Okay.
By the way, the 800 amps, is that a total after they're done? So they're adding 600 or were they adding 800?
No, it'd be a new service of either 6 or 8. It's, so the 200 comes out,
Yep, and the new service
and
goes
the
in.
new
So
6 goes
the
in.
net result will be 600 or 800 amps?
Yeah.
Okay, and the biggest difference there is the size of the box.
And the wires,
Pardon?
and all the cabling, all the wire.
Gosh, for sure you'd cable it so it could handle the bigger one no matter what, because you don't want to dig it up again. So really the big difference is just gonna be the box. Nobody seems to be willing to leap in here, but it's,
Well, I don't, you know,
pointed us in a
There are,
direction.
there
I
are
think it's
three,
some-
three issues on the table that need to be
I think it's
addressed.
something that needs to be done.
And I
mean,
appreciated that, that was helpful, but now I need a motion. And we also have to decide whether we're gonna think about the question of cost recovery at all. If people are inclined to do that, that's one thing. If we're not, then we can just get it off the table.
Well, the first thing would be that liability is reduced, so that you don't bounce unless you have adequate power. And then two opinions on cost of the upgrade and the feasibility of doing the upgrade in short order. And then downstream, recouping your loss and your investment.
So what you're saying is we wouldn't worry about recouping anything this year. We would just deal with the question of the project, and we would tell the Lions, we're gonna be talking to you for next year about things. Is that
What, yeah.
what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and get a sense of that 600 versus 800 in terms of, would you really like to have 8? Well, we'll do 8, and then you will do in return. If you're not serious about it, then quit the bouncy house and stop blacking out kids. I don't like that liability thing flapping around in that handout. It's just not
By
okay.
the way, can you identify what you mean by the liability thing as a separate question?
When the power goes out in the bouncy house, the kids need to be rescued.
Gotcha, okay. So
It's an unsupervised beach.
there's, and am I correct, there's no other solution to the bouncy house liability question other than not running it, but having more power, am I
Right.
correct?
And it seems a lot cheaper to not run it than to put in more power in 8 weeks.
So are you saying you're in favor of it, or again, I can't hear?
I don't have any kids on site, so of course I'm happy to drop the bouncy house compared to rescue a kid.
So does
Well,
somebody want to make a
I've
different
got
motion?
grandkids and they thoroughly enjoy those things.
Oh, wait, we have an opposing opinion here. Craig?
Well, I just been thinking about all this. I'm not, if this is 35,000 or 28,000 or 32,000 or 39,000. Fact of the matter is, I think it's something we need. I also think looking towards the future of what might be happening with food trucks and things like that on events, whether it's Lions Club or any other you know, maybe there's some things we need to do as a city to tweak some of these fees on vendor fees. You know, I don't know what the electrical usage is, but if it's $1,000 or for the weekend or whatever it is, you know, the Lions Club's been doing great things for our community for many years, and, they reinvest the money back into our community. And, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and squabble over $1,000 of electrical fees that I think the city can donate to the Lions Club, that we've been doing it for years already. Perhaps the fees just generally need to go up because, you know, this is 2025 now, it's not, you know, 1986 anymore, so. I don't have a problem with this gets sent on to the city council, right? No, is this strictly a park issue?
I asked Mike if this would have to get sent up, and he said no, if the
Okay.
park board's okay with it, it's their money.
Okay, well, I just look at the positive things that the Lions Club does for us, and, you know, we've seen things traditionally, especially I have in all the years I've lived here, this change of what the Lions Club weekend is, what it used to be, what it is now. They're, you know, it's getting harder and harder and harder to put on this weekend for those people, for the Lions Club. And I remember when we used to have Carnival come in and set up over here in the parking lot, and I don't know how much power they use, but they use a lot of power. I mean, it's, you know, all the things have changed, and I'm just looking at offerings for people who come here on that weekend. And the offerings are the food trucks, the offerings are things for little kids to do. And the events that they schedule that they can put in there that people wanna go to and enjoy, and it's a reunion basically for a lot of classes in our community, and there's a lot of support for it. And this is just, I think, this is a needed thing that just, it needs to be done, so
So I propose to put some words in your mouth, if you're willing.
I don't disagree against it, you know.
Well, can I go? I'll just say that I agree with a lot of what you just said, and the only thing I would like to see is if, you know, I think it's pretty hard. I mean, I think you could look for a second quote, but, you know, at this point in the game, that might be hard, but the thing I would like to see is, possibly, you know, what the cost of the 800 would be, because if the 800 is, you know, what's that cost difference? Because if, I would say if we're gonna do it, and we're gonna spend 35 and they want, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 more for 800, I think we should do that as
Yeah.
well, because it's, why not? I mean, now's the time to do it, but
I thought
it's
the
expensive.
35 was for 800.
No,
Six.
It's
600.
for 600.
Oh,
So I would just say, I mean, and I'm fine with the 600, but I mean, if it's, what's the cost effectiveness? You know, if we're gonna go to, you know, see what the 800, because, you know, I have to believe that, you know, he's saying the 800 would be best,
I
but
think you
we
could
could
get
get by
that.
with 600.
You could probably get that number pretty quickly. It's just, it's a part.
I mean, that's what
The
I'm
labor's the
saying.
same, everything else is the same.
Everything else in the trench is the same.
Right.
So it's just, so I mean, I think that would be a fun thing to do, but I don't know, you could possibly get a second quote, but for someone to start, it's already June, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, to get somebody else to jump in and do it, it'd be pretty hard.
So to move this along, Mr. Chair, I move that we dig the hole and put in 600 and do the 35, period, like tomorrow. And then a second motion requests that Dave check and see what the upgrade to 800 would cost, and if it's in the range of $5,000 or $6,000, add that to the project.
okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Craig, you should probably second it based on your position.
Well, I'll second it, but as far as what the 800 costs, I think that would be a discretionary decision that Dave could look at. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I have no idea what that cost is. It might make you say, oh my gosh, or it might say, well, why didn't we talk about
Are you
that the
okay
first
with
time around,
simply
right?
delegating to
I'm-
Dave the authority to do
Yeah,
6 or 8?
I would hand him, you know, 6, 7 grand and say, use it if it's good and don't if it's not.
But if it's 20 to 25, he's gotta come back.
You bet.
So your authorization then is for up to $40,000, is that what I'm hearing? That,
41 or 42.
I'd even go higher than that, I'd go 42.
Okay, the motion is that we approve,
Motion is amended,
that we recommend, that
that we allow Dave the
like an
discretion to put in 8 if it's
I think
42
the
or
smart thing
less.
is just to get it, I think the smart thing is to get a number. 'Cause I don't know what the number is, neither do you,
Yeah.
Dave, do you have any idea? No, so let's just, I would second your motion to approve this. If we wanna go to 800 amps, I think it would be wise to just get a price of what that would be,
And, I
don't you
mean,
think? And
Dave,
then,
and
do
Dave
we
could
need
do-
another meeting to approve if it was more than that, within?
could we do an email?
Sure.
Just email things
I
around?
I don't think we have email voting activated.
Well, and if you're gonna dig, you wanna do it like now. You know, tomorrow would be great. Get the dirt back on it.
Well, I'm sure they know they gotta do it fast if they're gonna do
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah.
this wouldn't be sitting here if they couldn't do it. There's time constraints on it.
Right, yeah.
And nothing in that motion about recovering the cost, that's for K and later.
Yeah.
I heard that. So what is the status of the motion now? Tell me what your motion is and what your second is.
Well, the motion was that we proceed with authorization for putting in, for digging and putting in the lines in the tech for 600 amps. And that we increase that to 800, subject to Dave's discretion, that it's a reasonable increase. And I think the number I would put on that would be in the range of $7,000 on top of the 35. And then as part of that, he would talk to the contractor about the reasonableness of that upgrade and cost, and could bring that back to the board as an FYI.
And may I just do one other thing, and that is I would like the wires that are dug in the ground to be capable of handling 800 if we decided to go up there later. No, I would like to, yeah, is that okay with you?
Yeah, I don't know how much of the amperage is wire sized and how much is other tech, you know?
I have no knowledge of it. All I know is I don't wanna have to dig the wires again.
No,
We'll put that in,
I think 800 would give us more pedestal option, like more plugs, basically.
Yeah.
Like it's probably the same size wiring, but it's the ability
pedestals.
to add like 4 more 50 amp plugs.
yeah. And I assume it's copper, maybe it's aluminum, I don't know, but something that's durable and somebody won't dig it up at night and steal it like they do down in the cities.
Most guys don't dig through granite to
well,
steel.
that sounds,
So, is his current statement of the motion acceptable to the second, Craig?
Yeah, I agree, I would like to have clarification on what 800 is gonna cost,
I would too, yeah.
that's all. And if it's absorbently crazy, which I don't think it's gonna be, we stick with our plan.
Right.
So if we give Dave discretion, but ask that he keep us apprised of what's going on, so that if there's a revolt in the board, he at least knows he's dealing with that. Okay? All right.
Perfect.
He's already saved us a new bathhouse tonight.
We're spending that money right here.
Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And are there any nays? No nays. So 5-0 for this discretionary project decision.
Thank you.
All right, now it's 6:15, which is kind of late to start a discussion of our purpose and methods.
Continue the
Is
tape.
there any reason we can't kick that over to the next meeting?
Well, I would just say that I'm very familiar with the documents that we're looking at, right? This is something I kind of is ingrained in me and how we operate now, and I don't have any issues with it. Is really, I just wanna, I think I said this last month, I said, you know, Tracy came to our meeting several months ago, and I believe her message was, how's it going? Are you comfortable in your roles and responsibilities and your mission? And we, you know, we just kind of as a check-in. And really, there's no need to change if everybody's comfortable.
Let's do this. Let's put it on the agenda for next month. We have a month to read the stuff. If anybody has anything, send an email to Dave.
gotta stop you, Steve, because we're gonna be with LHB next month, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be a long meeting.
Yeah,
Okay, is there any rush? If there's a desire to do something different, shall we wait till August? That's okay.
Or and yes, I would say, because I'm okay with these documents, and I'm really just looking for, are you okay with them? Then we just take it off the agenda.
I've never read them. Has
well,
anybody else read
why
them?
haven't you read them?
Because I've been busy. Because I actually do other things besides come to this meeting.
Oh,
I mean, I realize there's a couple little dated, like swimming pool we don't have anymore, and there's a little bit of
yeah,
editing here, but it's a city council approved document anyway, so if any changes we do make is gonna go up the flagpole in city council, and maybe
mean,
we'd save this for the off-season,
it is 26
Well-
years old.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna declare that we're gonna table this item until somebody wants to lift it off the table. And people may study the thing in the meantime, and if there's any desire to have it on, let Dave know, he will let the rest of us know, and we'll choose a time to discuss it. All right, any other business?
So we've saved the rec hall and we have dug wire in the ground and kicked the policy downstream.
There you go.
Very good, we should put you in charge of summaries.
If you're
That's the
never, if
minutes.
you're not here, I have to sit in that chair and do this.
Condensed.
So you're saying you'd like it or you wouldn't like it?
No, I do not like it, but I do like some clarity.
Okay,
All good, good discussion.
thank you all. We'll see you in a month, if not before.
I don't know, I'm kind of busy.
Yeah, July 1st.